I've been doing the RPM challenge, which is a challenge to write and record an album of music in the month of February, record production month, right? So today is day 11, and we're going to go through 3 keys to unlock your musical creativity that I've sort of come across through this process so far, right? The first revelation for me, really, has been creating a habit of creating. And what I mean by that is that by saying, I'm going to take this month to work on music with this goal of finishing an album, I've dedicated a little time each day. Sometimes it's very little, and sometimes it's more. But I've dedicated time each day to being creative, to just making some music, playing my instrument, doing something towards this process of making an album. And what I've noticed is such a surge in my well-being and sort of my mental health and just my happiness by having this dedicated set-aside time to make music. Because I don't know about you, but for me, music has this like meditative, restorative quality that I realize is really important, and it can escape easily. I'm fortunate to be able to make music for a living. It's my job as well. But the problem with that is that it puts a lot of pressure on music making sometimes. So it was really refreshing this month to be like, you know what? I'm making an album that doesn't need to make money, that doesn't need to be any particular thing. I'm just going to dedicate this time to making some music. And I've noticed how much it has affected my mental health, well-being. It's a really good thing. That brings me to my second point, which is creating without rules or purpose. That's something that I just decided to do this month. I'm not going to put any rules on what kind of music I make, right? My first instrument was the saxophone. I learned how to play guitar. I got into electronic music. I realized that there are all these little rules that I make up for myself. Oh, this needs to be a dance album, or this needs to be IDM, or this is singer-songwriter, or whatever, right? But for this month, I said, you know what? I'm just going to sit down and play whatever instrument, piece of gear I want. I'm going to play whatever comes to mind, right? And whatever it is that comes to mind, whatever music comes out, I'm going to see where that takes me, right? I'm going to record each thing. I'm just giving them numbers. Sometimes they have titles, but record each thing and just generate this collection of snapshots of each day this month, right? I don't have to finish a song today. I don't have to do anything at all, really. I'm just dedicating the time to create and then seeing where it takes me, right? And this freedom from my own rules that I realized I was making for myself about my creative process has been so wonderful, so freeing. And I've written songs on the guitar where I'm singing, and it's like singer-songwriter stuff. I have dancey things that I'm doing with the electronic machines. I have stuff that I did all in Ableton, which I don't usually do, but I was inspired to do. And I'm excited to see what this crazy collage of music ends up being. So, I said, no rules for this, right? Actually, there's one rule, and the one rule is this. Sit down, play whatever I want, and say yes. I think the power of just saying yes to that idea is so critical in the creative process, right? And one thing I've learned over time is that there are different stages of the process, right? And I need to save my wonderful, critical editing brain for later, because that editing does not help my creative, generative time, right? Which brings me to the third key, and the wonderful thing about this challenge, it provides the golden gift of the deadline, right? This album needs to be done, mixed, mastered, out there by February 28th. In the deadline, a structure is implied, right? Working backwards, I know, okay, that last week, I probably want to dedicate to mixing, mastering, some final editing, stuff like that, right? The third week, all right, that's going to be my kind of like creative editing time where I'm taking all these random bits of things that I've made and trying to see, what's really speaking to me at that point and how it can all work together. I'm not worried about that. I think it's going to be really interesting and exciting and different. And that means that these first 2 weeks, I get to just kind of play and just make some music, make a mess, so to speak. And then later, I'm going to try to have some fun cleaning it up. But separating out when I'm being creative and when I'm being a little more technical. I hesitate to say critical because I don't really love that. I don't feel like it's a really helpful, positive approach. But there's a certain point where you start to shape something, right? And rather than saying to myself, oh, this is good or this is bad, it's more about how can I get closer to what this piece is trying to do, right? Having had a couple weeks sitting with everything, how can I now focus in and kind of sharpen the point or hone the tool? I don't know what the metaphor is, but focus on making this little piece of music more what it kind of wants to be, right? Rather than like, oh, this is bad, this is good, this is not going to be well received, people are not going to like this. None of that thinking really helps, right? But more focused on the creative thing. That saying yes to what it is, because I've realized that sometimes I make things that I don't even understand what they mean or why I'm making them, but they are coming out for some reason. And the more that I think that reason is important, even if I don't know it, the more I can work toward it, the more I enjoy the process, the more that I love the things I've made. And I think ultimately the better they are, if we can judge them that way, right? So I hope these 3 keys help you. There's still time to get involved in that RPM challenge, so do it. Go for it. And more power to you if you get it done starting late. But good luck on your creative journey. Let me know how these things help you. Let me know what you're making, and I'll see you next time.